All right, good evening. Let's go on to Math 1, fractions, decimal, and percentage. So before we begin, we had questions on decimal places. So you have a decimal place, and the endings for anything greater than 1, it's going to end in an S. And anything less than 1, those decimal places are going to end in THS. Right? So you got the ones position, right? Then next to it is the tens, right? And then you have the hundreds position, then the thousands, right? They all end in S. Then you have your decimal point, and then you have your tenths, 10 THS, and then hundreds THS, then thousands THS. Right? So if we had a number 1,795.284, right? And I said, which number is in the ones position? What number would you say? Which number's in the ones position? Yeah, the 5. Here's the ones. So which number is in the hundredths? Hundredths. Yeah, hundredths with the TH would be the 8. Right? So that's the first thing is you got to know your decimal place, and then you got to know when to round. So first thing you do when you round is you have to ID the decimal place. What determines if that decimal place, that digit change, is the number to the right. So you got to look to the right. So we either round up or round down. So if the number to the right is 0 to 4, we round down. That means everything after this number, right, the number stays the same, but everything after it turns into a 0. If it's 5 through 9, we round up. That means this number goes up by 1. Everything after it becomes a 0, right? That's what we mean by rounding up or rounding down. Rounding down, everything goes to 0. Rounding up, we add 1 to this number, and then everything else is a 0 after. So this number in question, let's round to the nearest tens. So what number's in the tenths position? 10, tens. This is 9, right? So where do? We look to the right. So what number's to the right of it? 5. So if it's a 5, what do? We round up. So the 9 becomes a 10. So we carry the 1, right? So it is going to be 1800. So round to the nearest tens. So now let's round to the nearest tenths. What number is in the tenths position? The 2, right? So where do we look? We look to the right. So it's an 8. Do we round up or down? Round up. So the number is going to be 1795.3. The last digit is in what decimal place? The tenths. But in pharmacy, we'll get to it, is medical notation. Properly documenting numbers to prevent errors. All right, so that was a background on your decimal places, a little bit on rounding. If you're having issues, just try to look for some resources online. Fractions equals a decimal equal percentage, so it's 3 ways of expressing the same value. So you're going to have to be able to convert between all of these. Fractions, part of the whole. So the bottom number tells you how many parts there are, and then the top number tells you how many exist. For example, 3/4, we got 4 parts. If I color in 3 out of 4, I got 3/4. Easy enough. For decimals, it's mostly identifying the decimal place and learning how to document decimals. So in medicine and in pharmacy, if the number is less than 1, you have to have a 0 in front of the decimal point. You cannot put 0.5 or 0.25. If that decimal does not come through fax, copy, or even handwritten, that's going to be a tenfold. This is going to be a 1, 2, 100-fold overdose. So that's a potential tenfold. This is a potential 100-fold overdose because you didn't put a 0 in front of the decimal. And secondly, no trailing zeros. Any zeros after the decimal, you just leave off. These guys, all the way at the end. So here's the decimal, the ones at the end. Decimal, the ones all the way at the end. However, you do not change the numerical value of the number. All the digits stay where they need to. You just remove the zeros at the end. So go back to your assignment and take a look where you ended up not putting maybe a 0 in front of the decimal or leaving on some trailing zeros. What does cent mean to you guys? I'll give you a hint. It's right here. How many years in a century? How many cent in a dollar? Yeah, it's 100. So percent just means out of 100, per 100. So if you have 20%, you got 25 per 100 or 25 out of 100. Easy enough. Just remember, cent means 100. All right, take out your calculators. Top number is the numerator. Bottom number is the denominator. Take the numerator divided by the denominator, and what do you guys get? 1 divided by 5. Yep, 0.2. Easy enough, right? That division sign is, guess what? Or that fraction bar is a division sign. So, how do you go from decimal to percentage? Yep. You're going to multiply by 100. Percent times 100. So 0.2 times 100 is 20%. So when you enter in your answers, you don't need the symbols. You just need the numerical value. So go back to your assignments, and if you see that you put in the percentage, just this 0.4, just leave it out. It's just for the answer key. All right, your guys' turn. How do we go from fraction to decimal? Yep. Yep, 0.375. And
by 100, and you get 37.5.
Yep, times 100, 37.5. Right, not too bad. Fraction, decimal, percentage. Get another one. Check the solar power. It's a little dim in here. You might have to charge it up a little bit. They've been in a drawer. All right. This time, we're going to start off in decimal. So how do you go from decimal to fraction? Look at that decimal. Take a look at the last decimal place. What decimal place is that?
You make it to
What decimal place is that?
cents.
What decimal place is the 3 in? Tenths. So what's the bottom number?
10.
There you go. So the 3 is in the tenths position, so you know the bottom number is going to be over 10. And you just put all those digits over 10. How can you check your work?
Divide it, 3 over 10.
Yeah, 3 divided by 10. It better be 0.3. And then go ahead and go to percentage. What do you get?
30.
Yep, 30%. All right. So identify the decimal place, the last digit. What decimal place is it in? All right. So with that strategy, the 5 is in what decimal place? 100. So what's the bottom number? 100. What do you put on top?
35.
There you go. So that's the easiest way. And in my class, you do not have to reduce. All right, just put it as is, because if you reduce, you might make a mistake, and it has to be to the lowest terms. So just leave it 35 over 100 to do the rest of your calculations. How many percentage?
35%.
Yeah, percent is pretty easy. Not too bad. Decimals?
So far.
So far?
So far.
This is review. It better not be. All right, this is week 1. All right, the 9. What decimal place is it in?
Thousands.
Tens, hundreds, thousands. What's the bottom number?
1,000.
What goes on top?
279.
Yeah, Easy enough, right? So that's the easiest. Don't worry about reducing it. You don't have to in this class. And then what percentage is it?
0.9.
So you guys have to watch the resources because it's the exact same thing that I'm doing. Yeah, you guys have to watch the resources. I know you guys, a lot of you guys just jump into it, didn't take the time. But make sure, for Math 2, get your flashcards. All right, percentage. How do we go to decimal now? Going back this way. Yeah. So instead of multiplying by 100, divide by 100. So a lot of you guys forgot this step when you're doing your assignment. So take 1.2 divided by 100, you're going to get 0.012. The 2 is in what decimal place? 1,000. What's the bottom number? What's the top number? Yeah, 12 over 1,000. Makes it nice and easy. Right? A little bit easier. Why does it seem easier? Yeah, it's always easier. All right. 0.125. Let's divide by 100. What do you get? 0.0025. Yeah, 0.0025. Decimal place for the 5. Tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s. 25 over 10,000. Easy enough, right? Feeling more confident? Yeah. So a lot of practice, and then you guys will start recognizing these types of problems. So that's one of the big things is now that you know how to do it, we're going to introduce different types of problems, and you're going to have to differentiate. When do I do this? When do I do that? Because in the field, they're not going to tell you, do the math this way, do the math that way. All right, so let's do these guys real quick. Everyone punch in their calculators. 1 divided by 9, what do you get? 0.11. Okay, we can just keep a couple digits. Go to percentage.
1.
How much percent? 11 point. Yeah, 11111. We don't have to worry about that. All right, let's go this way, I guess. 6 is in what, or the 3 is in what decimal place? 100. So what's on top?
63 over 100.
There you go. Times 100. What percentage? 63. No math needed, right? You guys are catching on? Yeah, decimal place 2.0. All right, now going this way, what do we do? So what do we get?
0.00.
0.
No,
Just
0.75.
yeah. The 5 is in what decimal place? Tens, hundred, thousand. So the bottom number is 1,000. Right? So not too bad. Good review. Flashcards. You must memorize. Put these to memory. Right? Cubic centimeter, ml. So this is all your volumes. Make your flashcards. These are additional stuff. On exams, quizzes, will you get a list of these? Oh, good answer. No, you will not. If you use a conversion tool, it will be wrong as well. You got to use these conversion factors. Okay? So we'll get into Math 2. All right, so that ends Math 1, fraction decimal percentages. We also did decimal places and rounding as a recap as well. All right, let's go on to Math 2, where we're going to be doing conversions, metric conversion and English metric conversions.